Berlusconi is the biggest ally of Putin in Western Europe, and you see what happened to him, right? He got hit with this heavy, super heavy paperweight back in December. Well, Berlusconi has just won the Italian regional election, so the huge international campaign against Berlusconi has also flopped. So if you look at the Anglo-Americans, they failed in Ukraine. They're going nowhere with Iran. Their plan for a color revolution, the violet revolution in Italy, is also going nowhere. And Putin he's building bridges to China and building this pipeline. So I think that's sort of an area you can see all of the reasons that there's rage in London and Washington against Moscow.
And this attempted bombing of the FSB headquarters from below, from the subway. Let's talk about where the globalists are going next. And then I want to talk about the fact that I am being demonized big time by the media right now. Look, it's elementary. I started seeing them a year ago demonize the Tea Parties, gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, mainline conservatives who don't want to be looted by the banks. This is the largest contingent out there that's middle America that threatens the banking takeover. Now we have Bloomberg announcing that federal regulators are basically ordering government, police, fire, school teacher pension funds, private pension funds. They're telling them to, quote, invest in failed banking institutions. They're saying that your money markets won't be insured. They're definitely getting ready for a full financial controlled implosion. And Webster, I want to get into this now, then we'll come back and look at the big picture of where they're going on the world stage. But, you know, I've got all these articles here. CNN's doing a piece on me tonight. You know, am I causing violence? Am I dangerous? Military husband probe for allegedly posting threats on radical website, Fox News, Infowars.com. It implies it's my fault. There's another headline where it says Alex Jones is causing all this. We've got all sorts of dirty tricks going on, Webster, that I don't even want to get into on air. The point is, London Guardian saying I'm the center of this anti-government black hole. I'm dangerous. Southern Poverty Law Center putting reports out every week. They say next month's issue is going to have me in the cover story. So why do you, and I'm talking about protecting myself. I mean, I really want your opinion. It's not like, oh, look, I'm in the media. No, I mean, this is not fun. It's like having Hitler in 1939 giving speeches against you and you live in Berlin. I mean, it's creepy, but you've been fighting these people for 40 years. But not just the attack on Alex Jones. Clearly, these militia raids were set-ups. I predicted last year with one of the militia members who was on. I said, I think you're a fraud. I think you're probably a government agent. I said, let me guess, you guys are training to attack the police station. And I said, if that's going on, that's the feds, because I've seen this over and over again for so many reasons. They want to get the police hating the citizens. They said they wanted to attack a funeral procession. They think of the worst things they can think of. And I've had the military and police try to frame my cameramen in New York and at the G20 when they're just peacefully, nicely trying to interview them, Webster. So the point is, why do you think they're coming after me in particular? And how is all this fear-mongering about militias? I mean, we know in 95 the Feds staged the Oklahoma City bombing. Go ahead.
Well, on Broadway, they say a knock is a boost, meaning that if you come under attack, this indicates that you're effective. So if we have an attack from somebody like Anderson Cooper, and as you pointed out, right, Anderson Cooper is this former CIA recruit, CIA trainee, and, of course, he's a Vanderbilt. He is the poor little rich boy who is the son of Gloria Vanderbilt, the heiress to this fortune going back into the 19th century. So to say that he's a rich elitist, a patrician aristocrat, I guess is putting it mildly. And of course, these are the resources of CNN. Back in the 1970s, this would have been a part of the picture that people had at the time, and it was quite clear that the CIA massively infiltrates the mass media, and this is a good example. So this is coming from the intelligence agency. I guess you can say. After this last weekend here with the Tea Party and the peace marchers coming to Washington, there's a huge hysteria of the Wall Street-controlled media, and they've decided to take, I think, really minor incidents that occurred at the Capitol and make that into some kind of avalanche of hysteria.
Well, let's talk about that when we come back. But specifically, why are they choosing me? More and more, it's emerging that I am going to be the chief devil, that I'm being put on display, and they keep lying and saying I'm calling for violence, which is the opposite. Are they angry that I'm trying to stop violence?
Absolutely, and I mean this is just outrageous lying by them, because there's never been the breath in any insinuation of this. This is absolutely fantastic, and they know it. And notice, as far as I can see, Anderson Cooper doesn't accuse you directly. He does it through this sort of innuendo, right? Do you do this, right? Asking questions, right? Is it true that you beat your wife? This is the loaded question. So, well,
they say all this violence is happening. Many people say that you're influencing this. What do you say to that?
Many producers at CNN with CIA credentials say that. Well, this is ridiculous.
Well, stay there. Let's come back and talk about how you think I should respond and how others should. And then for those that don't know what happened at the Capitol over the weekend, because we're not the only ones being demonized here, but it is creepy. I mean, that creepy Vanderbilt CIA operative up there, these people just make me sick. I mean, is there no end to their evil? We are picking Webster Tarpley's brain on a host of important issues. Why are they choosing to demonize the Tea Parties? I mean, I see the Republicans coming in and setting the parameters of what the Tea Party should be in their image. Pro-war, pro-Patriot Act, torture, police state. And the Republicans, well, they might save us in a few years if we vote them into power. That way the power structure stays intact. Meanwhile, they then can split off any of the radicals as they see them and demonize them, set them up, arrest them. Why do you see them going after me? Just to demonize my name? Or is this a preparatory phase before some type of setup, Webster?
I would say it has to do with the crisis in the political system after the passage of this Obamacare. It's because you are one of the leading public figures who is able to escape this rigid ideological dichotomy, the so-called left-right split. That is to say, there's a convergence of elements that are considered conservative with elements that are left-wing that could become the basis for challenging the Democratic and Republican parties. And
let me stop you. I totally agree. It's because I go on the air on other big national shows and my own and point out that the insurance companies wrote the bill, something that Howard Dean and Dennis Kucinich told the truth about months ago before being taken up on the mountain and selling out. Because when you go to the left and go, wait a minute, this cuts Medicare, Medicaid, raises your taxes, lowers the standards of care, this doesn't have your public option. Now the left wakes up, and you show the right wing that. I've noticed Limbaugh and others always say the insurance companies are good. They were against this. So it shatters that deception and brings the people together in a populist movement against the bankers. And I continue to call for going after the banking structure, not going after just puppets like Obama.
Exactly. And I think there's a sense that the time for this may be ripe. If you look at the response in the left wing of the Democratic Party, so to speak, to this betrayal on the health care, you see that, Congressman Kucinich folded. He voted for it. The Progressive Caucus, they all voted for Obama. Of course, they were all terrorized by Rahm Emanuel and that machine operating out of the White House. If you look, though, at this blog called Fire Dog Lake, written by Jane Hampshire, who was, I guess, a somewhat reluctant supporter of Obama back in 2008, she comes on saying that if you look at the Obama health plan, it is close to the dictionary definition of fascism. In other words, the fascist corporate state. Now, I think on that basis, you could say the time may be ripe for a convergence of political forces outside the Democratic and Republican parties that would be anti-war, anti-dictatorship, anti-Wall Street, anti-Federal Reserve. And I think that's a convergence that is now possible. I would just say that would then have to become not just anti, but also in favor of something, and specifically this. We're now in a world economic depression. If we look back to the 1930s, in the most general terms, we went from depression to dictatorship, in Germany especially, but also elsewhere, and then we had a world war. So what we've got to do is to prevent this depression from going on and turning into a dictatorship, because I would always argue that the motion in favor of totalitarian and authoritarian police state measures is always coming ultimately from the fact that the economy is collapsing and the ruling elite is trying to respond to this.
And clearly they've been setting up for this for decades. This is premeditated, but that's the next issue. And we'll talk about some solutions, Webster. I know you have your opinion on those.